Hi, it's me, MC of Healthy by George. I come every Sunday and Thursday to talk about health and wellness. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you here. And let's have this conversation about how to stay the best version of who we are as we get older. So, I want to talk about the recent news that the FDA has shared about the shortages of the GLP1 drugs. So, on February, I think it was the 24th or 25th, they basically announced that there's no more shortage. And this really caused a large upset in the big outsourcing associations that are about these companies that are online, that provide these compounded pharmacies, that they are taking the FDA to court because they think that this issue of having a shortage is not correct. They think that once the people who are currently on a drug, GLP-1 drug, try to get access to the prescribed drug, that there still will be a shortage. There'll be so many people who are looking to get access that it's not going to be sufficient supply again. So I think that's what's really come up, is that many of these companies that are online, like His and Hers and Row and Weight Watchers and Found, and I mean, there are a lot of these companies online. And they really rely on the fact that there's a shortage and that they don't believe that the shortage is over, and that they think that once they start trying to shift these patients come April or May to get the drug from an approved pharmaceutical prescription instead of a compounded pharmacy, that you're going to see two things happen. One, that there's going to be a shortage. And two, this issue of supply with the medication and how it costs. If we get it from the pharmaceutical company, it costs us $1,000. And then if you have a copay, maybe your insurance will cover it, but maybe not. Maybe you end up having to pay $400 and $500 as a copay, and you no longer have an option for compounding a compounded drug because the FDA says it's no longer in shortage. So to me, it's a twofold problem. It's one, is there really a shortage because so many people are using compounded, that transitioning them to a pharmaceutical prepared formulation of this drug is going to be further reducing the access of this drug in the marketplace? Or two, because people are transitioning from buying this compounded medication for $100 or $200 a month, now they're forced to transition to a more expensive version of the drug that's provided by the pharmaceutical company. And to me, that's so unfortunate, because if I had to suddenly change my drug because of the availability from a compounded pharmacy where I know it's working to a drug that's provided by the pharmaceutical where now I'm going to have to pay $500 versus $100 or $200, I would be devastated, because now I may not be able to afford the access to that medication because of this big, huge, steep copay. I just really don't understand this. This drug is much more affordable anywhere else but the United States. The United States, this is where the cost of this drug is ridiculous. I think that we're all concerned, and I think people are so concerned that there have been some reports I think the Obesity Association has made a declarance that they're against this. I think there's another association that this is not considered comprehensive obesity care because people are not going to have access again because of the price being prohibitive. This is really a problem, because so often giving patients this access to this drug has been pivotal to success. And to me, to suddenly see someone who's gotten a benefit like myself, blood pressure has gone down, my weight has reduced, incredible, my energy, the pain in my joints is reduced. Come on, those are key health components. Why are we denying access to a drug that we know can help people? And we're doing it two ways. We're limiting this compounding component, or two, we're making it so unaffordable that we can't get access. I don't even know if I could afford paying $300 and $400 a month. That would be a real hardship. And frankly, I don't know how people would do it. To pay that every single month for a year and a half, that's a large cost. So I think we have to figure out a way that these companies can be more inclusive, and that perhaps there is a way to do things so that you can maybe buy the drug directly from the pharmaceutical for a less cost, and it's still branded, but even those costs seem to be problematic. They sound like they're $350 and $500 a month. Jeez, because and even still, that's supposed to be cheaper? I don't think so. I think that's where the compounding looks attractive, even though we know that compounding drugs are not the equivalent of what we know are the FDA approved drugs. I think that's where people get so confused. They think the compounded pharmaceutical drugs are not equivalent. And the truth is that they're not. They don't have the same key elements that have gone into the manufacturing that were studied and reported on and that were part of the approval that the FDA gave them. A generic drug is a completely replica of that same drug. It's just done in a way that's more generic, and it's not done maybe by the pharmaceutical's approved manufacturer. It's the same drug, same content, same everything. It's just maybe a different manufacturer. Compounded drugs don't have the same elements because many times the way compounded drugs are supposed to be provided is they give you the option to have access to a drug where either A, there's a shortage, or B, maybe you have an allergy to something that's in the compounding. Maybe you need a formulation that lets you swallow it or drink it or rub it on your skin. There's so many things that make people seek out compounding pharmacies because it's all about how do we serve the patient with a similar drug, not exact, but similar, to give them at least the benefit of getting access to that drug. And I don't think people understand that the benefit of giving someone who is needing something that's very similar to the approved drug is less than the risk of giving them access to that drug. The risk for these GLP-1 drugs is that you'll either underdose yourself or you'll overdose yourself because you're the one, instead of it coming in a prepackaged pen that allows you to easily do the dosing, you have to figure out the dose by pulling it up into a syringe yourself from a vial. That can be a little more tricky. It takes a little more training, takes a little more education. And let's face it, we can all make mistakes when we're talking about pulling it up into a syringe. And I've done that before, and it's not easy. I used to give my husband injections for his MS. We must advocate for ourselves to have access to this drug reasonably, at reasonable prices. And if it means keeping compounded pharmacies still providing this drug to those online platforms, but we do a little better job at educating and giving people information so they're clear about when they use a compounded drug, these are your risks. But here is the benefit. It's not as costly. You need to have a little more education. You need to be a little more aware of what you're doing with the drug. I think, to me, those are reasonable. I'm not the FDA. I'm not these pharmaceutical companies who want to make money. And right now, I think things are just topsy-turvy. So come April or May, I think it's late April, May, these compounding pharmacies may have to stop and transition their patients from the compounded version to a version provided by the pharmaceutical company. And that's going to mean that the cost is going to go up, and that's going to be very unattractive. I'm really concerned that people are not clearly aware of what's happening with this whole process of determining that these drugs are no longer at a shortage. And it's upsetting to me to think that so many people may have to not have access to this drug. And it makes me sad because I realize for me, it's been a game changer for my life. It's helped me with my joints and the pain in my joints. It's helped me with my heart health. It's helped me with, feeling more positive about myself because I've lost sufficient pounds of weight that I haven't been able to lose for 40 years. Believe me, You want to think that does a number on your mental health? It does. When you're constantly tracking your calories, your exercise, your food, and you just hit a wall consistently, never being able to move past a certain number on the scale. It's really no fun. Let's all do whatever we can to advocate for these drugs to be made more accessible at a reasonable price, and that we can stop this craziness of making these drugs so expensive and not accessible just because of this issue of compounding. Everyone should have a right to get access to this drug if they want to with their doctor. So be well, my friends. Join me here every Sunday and Thursday. Think about subscribing. I'd love to see you here. And let's have this conversation. What do you think about compounding pharmacies? And what do you think about this issue with the FDA declaring that there's no longer any shortages? And now people are not going to be able to afford or get access to these drugs as easily through these online platforms. Let's talk about it. And check me out every Sunday and Thursday. And remember, you have this one precious life. Let's live it to the fullest as we get older. Bye-bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.